whatever it is. And for those of you joining for the very first time, it's me just responding to various questions, comments, again, on various different videos. And ever since my comments, always encourage people to jump in on the conversation because it's pretty fantastic. Whether we agree, disagree, say your piece. All right, 19th of December, 2016. Let's jump into it. Well, if I don't die first. All right, so we'll never know if it is a cop-out. It's also BS. We can, and we will find out one day. In fact, if more important than now than ever to find out the real truth, because everything is going on in the world right now is directly, indirectly related, connected to the Holocaust. There is plenty of evidence everywhere. It only happens 70, 80 years ago. The Germans were efficient and meticulous record keepers, and all that needs to be done is separate the BS from the facts. The facts were hidden, swept under the carpet, and also BS sold to everybody as truth, reality. It's also a piece of history that you are not allowed to discuss, question. Don't people find this suspicious? Yeah, that's what I usually say. That alone tells you everything you need to know. I think that was a comment on the 150,000 plus Jewish soldiers that fought for Hitler. And you know there was over 15,000 in the SS. Yeah, of course they don't bring that out because you know, I mean, look at George Soros. I mean, this guy was an open Nazi collaborator. You know what I mean? Like he probably made the story that they hid his identity. I don't think they did. You know, like, oh no, we just said he was Christian. You know, he wasn't. You know what I mean? I think there's more than enough. Yeah, the Holocaust does need to be questioned. And the thing is whenever you hear somebody brings up the Holocaust, you say, which one? You know, like just plant that seed. Which one are you talking about? The Holodomor in Ukraine, 1917 Revolution, 1919 Bolshevik Revolution, you know, Mao Zedong, Joseph Stalin. Who are you talking about? You know, which one? You know, because that's the thing. A lot of people think there is only one Holocaust. You know what I mean? Like no other Holocausts are ever discussed in schools. Just the Jewish Holocaust. Doesn't that strike you as odd? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, of course it needs to be. You know, but again, this comes back to the Zionist control. And if it was openly discussed, and this is the part that, you know, they say how smart Jews are and stuff like that. And again, I'm not anti-Jewish at all. I really look at it as, you know, I get it that most Jews probably, you know, they don't have anything to do with anything. And I don't think there's one under every rock. But the Zionist Jews that are at the top, these people are complete cretins of humanity. But, and they have to be called out for it. Like any religious faction or whatever, you know, if it becomes a supremacy movement, you have to point it out. And that's what Zionism has become, is a supremacy movement. It's very, very clear. But I would say this, that you can, you know, whenever there's, you know, like, I mean, right now, like, it's funny when I listen to some YouTubers, when you bring up that subject, wait, I got to watch because there's laws against that. I got to watch what I say. If it gets taken as hate speech, I can go to jail. I'm like, well, right there tells you need to go revolt in the street when you can't question something, right? And that's the direction we're taking in so many areas. You can't question anything. You can't question LGBTQP, pedophiles. Again, it'll get to the point where it'll be illegal to speak out against pedophiles. It almost already is. It's incredible. They're legalizing that stuff as we speak. I mean, the 12 perversions that they want to legalize in the states that I heard about. I don't know what the other 11 are, but the one I heard, or the two I heard, is bestiality and pedophilia. Now in Canada, they've already made bestiality legal. No, you know what I mean? No, and there's no libertarian spin you can put on that for me. There's right and wrong. There's right and wrong. Morality isn't as subjective as some people think. I don't believe morality is that subjective. I really don't. You can make a deep, detailed case for deep-seated morality. Okay, well, that could be subjective, possibly. But in general context, no. Like, either we're moving forward as a human species or we're digressing. And morality is going to play a big part of that. So, you know, it's not just about indulgence. You know, like that's a Satanist. You know, you're just that. You know, that's the point of Satanism, is indulging. You know what I mean? Well, one of the points anyway. Anyway, moving on. Prime Minister Harper, biggest problems were getting too cozy with Israel. Agreed. Taking unnecessary aggressive measures with America against Russia. Definitely agreed. The selling of out to foreign ownership. Definitely agreed. Trudeau's the same. I think they were much better as a minority government. No, I think we were better as the majority government because we went from a liberal government. Now we're kind of remembering why we voted in the Conservatives. Oh my God, I really feel bad for people in Ontario right now too, and in Alberta particularly. They're getting hit so hard with these carbon taxes. It's just tax on tax. It's only an extra $2 a year. It's only an extra $10 a year. It's only an extra $400 a year. People can't breathe, But you can't fire a damn single government employee. That's because they're unionized. We need to shrink government. Period. His original plan was to take in 10,000 Syrian refugees over the next 5 years. We shouldn't have taken in one. The average Syrian refugee is costing $6,000 per Canadian, to the Canadian taxpayer. Think about that. It's ridiculous. And only 15% of them have gotten jobs. So these people are going to go on welfare. There's no reason why we needed to bring them here. There's no reason we need to cut off mass immigration in Canada. Period. We don't need it. We don't have the jobs. We don't have. Right now, they're having the healthcare discussions because our healthcare is getting in crisis. Why? We can't take care of the people we got, and yet they want to flood in more. Why? Because of populism, globalism. We have to have 100 million people by the end of the century. Why? There's no argument for it. Oh well, but the world stage, the United Nations says. Yeah. Right now, George Soros and the United Nations are literally running our country. John McClellan, I can't stand that guy, talking about his good friend George Soros in Parliament Hill. And United Nations Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, gender parity, that's all you hear. That's all it is. And Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership. That's all it is extreme globalism coming in. But it's going to backfire. So even 10,000 people, which is 2,000 people a year over 5 years, you have to understand the Conservative government, where they really went wrong. My two biggest issues with them was basically the mass immigration, going from 130,000 people per year to 250,000 people per year of 250,000 people. Now we're going over that. We're at 300,000. So Trudeau wants to bring it to 500,000 a year. This is going to completely destroy Canada. And remember, the longer it takes us to wrangle our immigration, the harder it is going to be to reverse things. Doesn't mean we have to send everybody back home, but we have to cut it off so people can integrate and stuff. So far, most of the Syrian refugees he took in were Christian families, which would assimilate much quicker into a Canadian society. Justin Trudeau changed all that. However, unlikely like the single man pouring into Europe, Canada has picked their refugee families straight from the refugee camps in Turkey, Jordan, and Lebanon. Still, 300,000 immigrants a year is way too much to absorb. Well, that's the point. We're not absorbing them. We're just, go 2008, walking through a mall, Rideau Center, right basically beside Parliament Hill. Walk through that, you can see diversity, but everybody's pretty much speaking English or French. Okay, fair enough. Now you walk through there, every second person you pass is speaking a different language. That's going to have negative consequences. Yes, you are correct that we're not taking the fighting age men in yet, but it just prolongs us to 8 to 10 years out, where they're going to have their culture clash 2 to 5 years in France or Germany. You'll see it. I still say the big clash is 20,000 on 20,000, 50,000 on 50,000, 100,000 on 100,000 in the middle of a street. It's going to take place probably in London or the outskirts of London. That type of thing. It's going to happen in the UK. I think that's where the big clash is going to be. And right after that, you're going to have war everywhere. But I think you're going to probably see a civil war break out very soon between the German people, indigenous people, and the migrants. That's going to happen. I think it'll probably kick off in France. What I'm going to call a Crusader battle, just to make it official, is when you have a body count, not 1 or 2 guys killing each other, but like say 10 guys dead here, 30 guys dead here. 15 here, 150 there, whatever. Like a real battle, like real battle and noticeable. Not, never mind what the media is going to spin it as a gang war or whatever. It's not going to be that. It's going to be populist uprising. I do believe it's only a matter of time, depending on who gets in the German election. But chances are Angela Merkel will win the next election. If they haven't overthrown her by now. I mean, how bad does Germany have to get before they realize it? So Germany's just going to go to snap. But if the AfD got in Germany, I could see in a very short amount of time Germany and Turkey possibly going to war. Because when Turkey just lets the migrants flood into Germany, these people are going to have to be expatriated. That can't happen without extreme violence. That's the thing. That's what people are coming to the realization of. We can't legislate these people out of the country. We can't, even paying these people to go away is not going to be enough. Many of them will just go because they'll go wherever the welfare is. But the ones that don't want to leave, that are illegal, you're going to have to fight them. And if you're not willing, you're not willing to arrest them for raping and murdering people in your country now, what happens when they say, no, this is our territory now? You know what I mean? Like, it is the rise of the new Ottoman Empire. This is what Erdogan was talking about. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Anyway, I think Prime Minister Turner had the best plan, similar to Australia, where he proposed reduce the family reunification programs. Yeah, we've got to get rid of that. And only allowed in immediate families to be sponsored, including only parents of their children. I agree with that. But we don't need any more. That's the thing. We don't need any more people. Unfortunately, Brian Mulroney won the election and not only increased immigration, but created a program to allow the rich settling immigrants from Asia to gain Canadian citizenships while leaving and working abroad, which has now inflated the housing prices in Vancouver beyond the average Canadian affordability. In other words, the average current Asian immigrant and foreign investors became richer, while the next generation of average white Canadian families are becoming poor. This is the cost of forced multiculturalism and diversity. Very well said. Can't really add much to that. Also, too, the Native groups. The Native groups, I think they're going to lose out the most in the long run as whites become minority in Canada, because they're not going to get all the stuff. Again, I talked about this in a few Q&As ago. What happens when the Islamic Caliphate is in Canada and the natives say, "Well, this is our land first"? Whenever you get that minority group going against the natives, God help them. Like, I know the Arabs are pretty brutal in their fighting. I will give them, the Arabs do know how to fight. There's no doubt about that. But they don't. They're not natives. Whenever you fight a native, you've got to fight like you're going to die, because they don't hold back. They'll pound you into oblivion. I know natives. I know them quite well. Nicest people you ever. Don't let them drink. Don't get them mad. They turn into gremlins when they drink, and they're a tough people. They're non-violent for the most part, but when they do get violent, they're like insane. They're completely insane. And they enjoy it. Every native guy I've ever talked to, when they get into a fight, doesn't matter how many teeth they lose, they love it. They're like, "Oh yeah, I fucked the other guy up." Smile, like 2 teeth, like a tooth left here. It's like, it's like, trust me, they're a rough bunch. You don't mess with the natives. Even when they're sober, they're a rough bunch. You know what I mean? Like, it's just the way they live. Not all of them, but it's like, you get to know them. You know what I mean? Like, again, I haven't talked to a lot of them in many years, but it's like, yeah, I'm not talking just when we were kids. Like, I mean, early 20s, that type of thing. Like, these guys, they were still, one guy, I don't think he'd fight like 3 times a day because he liked it. I mean, this guy just looked like a punching bag. He was just a little tiny little guy, too, tiny native guy. Always smiling and happy, but always fighting with everybody. Oh, yeah, he was just brutal. He'd be like, "How you doing? Good? Yeah, can I punch you in the face?" It's like, no, you can't punch me in the face today. So there's always willing participants. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. So anyway, if you like this kind of content, please consider making a donation to the channel. The link's down below. Thank you so much to everybody who has. Next time, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to yourself. Be true to others. Always do the right thing. And have yourselves a great day. Hey, and welcome. Q&A. Holy crap, is that time? What? Whatever it is. And for those of you joining me for the very first time, this means just responding to various questions, comments, again, on various different videos. And never censor my comments. Always encourage people to jump in on the conversation because it's pretty fantastic. Whether we agree, disagree, say your piece. All right, 19th of December, 2016. Let's jump into it. Well, if I don't die first. All right, so we'll never know if it is a cop-out. It's also BS. We can, and we will find out one day. In fact, if more important than now than ever to find out the real truth, because everything is going on in the world right now is directly, indirectly related, connected to the Holocaust. There is plenty of evidence everywhere. It only happens 70, 80 years ago. The Germans were efficient and meticulous record keepers, and all that needs to be done is separate the BS from the facts. The facts were hidden, swept under the carpet, and also BS sold to everybody as truth, reality. It's also a piece of history that you are not allowed to discuss, question. Don't people find this suspicious? Yeah, that's what I usually say. That alone tells you everything you need to know. I think that was a comment on the 150,000 plus Jewish soldiers that fought for Hitler. And there was over 15,000 in the SS. Yeah, of course they don't bring that out because I mean, look at George Soros. I mean, this guy was an open Nazi collaborator. You know what I mean? Like He probably made the story that they hid his identity. I don't think they did. Like, oh, no, we just said he was Christian. No, he wasn't. You know what I mean? I think there's more than enough. The Holocaust does need to be questioned. And the thing is whenever you hear somebody brings up the Holocaust, you say, which one? Like just plant that seed. Which one?